Economics, Standard 12, Unit 4, a continuation of the lesson, Keynes' psychological law of consumption. Keynes propounded the fundamental psychological law of consumption, which forms the basis of the consumption function. The law implies that there is a tendency on the part of the people to spend on consumption less than the full increment of income. So there is the tendency on the part of the people to spend on consumption less than the full increment of income. Each law has got its own assumption in economics. So here the assumptions are three. The first one is ceteris paribus. Ceteris paribus is nothing, but the other things are just constant, provided in income. So consumption is just depending on the variable of income, and the other variables remain constant. What are the other variables? Population growth, distribution of income, the consumer's preference, taste, habits, and so on. Okay, so that is the first assumption. Second assumption is existence of normal condition. So existence of normal condition. So that you have to just think of. So if a country is in some abnormal condition, then the law cannot be applied. So normal conditions, abnormal conditions like during the time of war, hyperinflation, and then you can even just take an internal crisis like revolution and so on. And just I can give an example of internal problems, that is now the coronavirus. The spread of the coronavirus has affected our economy. But so this is what abnormal condition. So that's an example. Okay, so that is existence of normal conditions. Third point is nothing but, remember, this is mostly applicable only for the capitalist country because that is free trade. And that is, what is that free trade? That is laissez-faire policy. So existence of laissez-faire policy. So laissez-faire. So laissez-faire policy or free trade policy, that is only possible in capitalist countries. So rich capitalist countries only can just follow this. Okay, so these three assumptions were just implied for Keynes' psychological law of consumption. Okay, now what is this law? Proposition of the law. The law has three propositions. The first and the foremost proposition is when the income increases and consumption also will be increasing to a certain level. Not equal to income, but to a certain level. So the first proposition is when income increases, consumption expenditure also increase, but by a smaller amount. So income 1 increases, consumption also increases. Do you understand? So to a smaller amount. Now for example, if I just take, that is 60 crores of rupees of our income. So if my income increases to rupees 60 crores, then so 60 crores income. So that is income, I write it here, and then consumption expenditure will be that it will increase from normal to rupees, that is what we just write it here, rupees 50 crores. Okay, so 50 crores. So this is what first proposition. The second proposition is the increased income is divided between consumption and savings. So the second proposition is the increased income is divided. So increased income divided between whom? The consumption as well as the savings. So if I just take this into consideration, so what is my increased income divided between consumption and savings? So that means consumption will be according to, so the first one and the second one, consumption expenditure, consumption is what? That is rupees 50 crores. So rupees 50 crores. And my savings will be how much? So that will go, just go for saving will be 10 crores. Okay. So 10 crores of rupees. So that's what just gives that 10 crores. Clear? So this is second one. So first one is when income increases, consumption also increases to a certain level. Second proposition is that increased income is distributed between consumption expenditure and saving. And third proposition is that is the increased income when it has just come. I mean when the increased income, consumption will also increase, at the same time savings also increase. When income increases, consumption also will increase, savings also will increase. So Y increases, consumption also will increase, and savings also will increase. So that is the third proposition. Okay. So third proposition, nothing has fallen. Everything is same. So equal. So nothing has fallen. Clear? So you have to remember that is nothing has fallen because of the third proposition. Okay. Now just to think that once again you remember the three propositions. One is just when income increases, consumption also increases to a certain level. It doesn't increase as income increase, but it will be also increasing. Second, increased income will be distributed between the consumption expenditure and savings. So that's what I have given an example of 60 crore rupees of income increases means consumption expenditure is 50 crores of rupees, and the second one, the increased income is just income is 60 crores of rupees and distributed between consumption and saving. So consumption 50 crores and saving 10 crores. And the third one is increase in income will just lead to increase in consumption and increase in savings to a certain extent. So nothing has fallen. So that is the third proposition. The three propositions can be just seen in the table as well as in the figure, that is in the diagrammatical figure. Okay, now first let's see the table. Income Y. So when income increases 120, consumption also increases to 120. So saving is nil. So 120, saving is 0. And when income increases to 180, say consumption increases to 170, savings is 180 minus 170, 10. And when income increases to 240, consumption increases to 220, savings increases to 20. So according to the three propositions, first the both are same, just slower, but the third proposition when we just say income increases, consumption also increase, savings also increase. That we can see it in the third proposition, that is income 240, consumption 220 and savings 20. Now you can just see diagrammatically in this figure. Now see in this figure, x-axis horizontal line, income is mentioned there, and in the y-axis consumption and savings is mentioned. Okay, now so income just starts from 120, 180 and 240, and when just we come for consumption and savings 120, in between 120 and 180 we have 170, and then 180, 220 and 240. Okay, now just we start from 120. So when income is 120, consumption is also 120, saving is 0. Okay, so the consumption curve just passes through, and the saving becomes 0. Now you can just see what is this. It starts from here. So this is usually, that is, autonomous consumption occurs even when our income is 0. Okay. Now just go for the second one. Income increased to 180. At the same time, consumption increases, but not to 180, but it has reached only 170. Clear? So the difference between 180 and 170, 10. So this part just becomes as an increase in saving. Okay. So 10 has been just set as an increase in saving. And now you just go for the third one. So according to the third, that is the third one, third proportion, 240 income. So my consumption has just reached to 220. So that, but what is that? Income increased to 240. So what is in between 240 to 220? So the rest of the 20 has been just saved. So this part is also saving part, and this is also. So when my income is 120, my consumption is also 120, and saving is 0 or nil. When my income increases to 180, my consumption increases, but only from 120 to 170. But still, it has increased gradually. So 170. So there is the difference between 180 and 170. So automatically 10 becomes as my saving one. So 10, okay, whatever, 10% is my saving one. And then when I just go for income increase in 240, and here instead of reaching up to 240, my consumption increases to 220. So 240 minus 220, the 20 part just is taken as savings. So that is why in the y-axis we have mentioned consumption and saving. Now you can just see this 45-degree line. So this consumption function, so consumption just reaches up to this. Okay, so now 120, that is income, 120, 180, 240, y, income. Now consumption just starts from 20 here, and 120, 170, and then 220. So the differences here. And the 45-degree line just shows that income is equal to consumption. So the 45-degree line just shows that income is equal to consumption. So income, consumption equality is clearly shown in this picture in the 45-degree line. I think now you have understood the concept of Hind's psychological law of consumption. So when just comes that, you will just here, when 45-degree line, that is consumption, so C is equal to 20 plus 5 divided by 6, y, income. And here, just to see this income line, that just goes for 120, 180 and 240. So now easily you can understand the concept of psychological law of consumption, that is Hind's psychological law of consumption. From this we understand that people just save when there is an increase in income. But so first proportion, income increases, consumption increases to a certain amount. Second proportion, income increases, the increased income is divided between consumption. That's what the increased income, 180, is divided between 170 consumption. Okay, so divided between consumption and saving. So 170 is consumption, the 10 is savings, and third one is increase income, increase in consumption, increase and saving also occur. Nothing has fallen down. Nothing has fallen. Hope you have understood this Hind's psychological law of consumption. Thank you.